The name of my speech is Imperfect Action. And I'm not being timed, but I'll just keep talking anyway. Imperfect Action. Dr. Seuss said, "I'm sorry to say, it's sadly but true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you." And it's one of my very favorite things that I think about when I'm ready to start to try to do something different. For the last 20 years, I have had a plan. There was something that I wanted to do, and it was to write the book, 21 Steps to Magnificent Living. And I just want to talk to you about what happened in the process of writing that book. The very first thing that happened was I was traveling around the world, and I was by myself most of the time. Well, when you're by yourself most of the time, you get a really good chance to view and look at yourself. You know, at the end of the day, what did I do? How do I feel about it? What did I learn? So I started writing it all down, and I just decided that this is something that I want to share with the world because this has been such a fascinating experiment for me, just to learn, just to see, just to view something different than what I already knew. So I started writing it down. Life forced me into my first imperfect action. I got a phone call from Reebok in South Africa, and they asked me if I would come and do this keynote speech for the Reebok convention. And if anyone knows anything about Carl, he always says,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. I say yes. So I said yes. Then I went back and figured out what the heck am I going to do. So I remembered years ago, I had started to write those things down, and I remember the very first thing that I wrote was about being a human being opposed to being a human doing. And that's where my thoughts were starting. And so the very first lecture that I did was called The Living Bees. So the 21 Steps to Magnificent Living actually started out as a program called The Living Bees, and I did that in South Africa. Well, it was so well received, I went home and I thought, this is a great idea. I'm going to make it into a book. So I decided I was going to make the book myself. But I was living in Germany and I knew nothing about the difference between the size of paper in Germany, that they have a completely different system for the way that they measure their paper. So I decided I was going to make a book and I was going to bind it. So I made all the pages for the book, and I went down to the copy place and I got all ready, and the book didn't fit in the binder. It just totally didn't work. So I had these sloppy little books, but since I already paid $400 for the sloppy little books, I carried them around the world with me for years, and I passed them out to people. Here are my living bees. Give them a try. Years went by, and I thought I'd forgotten about it, and I ran into a person who said, I own a publishing company. And she was a preacher. I said, Lord, have mercy, Jesus. God must have sent her down. The cacophony of sounds that were going off in my head. Bells were ringing. Someone's going to help me. And she came, and we wrote, and we talked, and we wrote, and we filmed. And at the end of that experience, I paid $1,400 to the publishing company, and I got zero. They gave me back absolutely nothing. They kept giving me excuse after excuse after excuse. So now here I am. I've already told the whole world, I'm writing a book. I'm ready to go. So I decided, okay, well, let me see what I can do. I sat down and I just started writing down my ideas. And I hired an editor. And I took a few notes that I had from the publishing company and the few notes that I had from my book and the few notes that I had from the Living Bees, and I handed it to the editor and I said, could you please turn this chicken shit into chicken salad? And she did her very best. She worked on it and she worked on it and she worked on it. And we got a book out. But it was imperfect. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but nonetheless, it was a book. And that started off all of the next imperfect actions. I went from there, and I passed the book out. And one of my aunts called me on the phone, and she said, are you kidding me? And she took a book, and she marked out every single thing that she saw in it that was wrong. And so I went back with her edits, and I printed the book again. So now I'm $7,000 into printing a book that hasn't sold one copy. Not one. It's okay. Imperfect action. I'm still moving forward. It's building my momentum. The reason that I chose to speak about it this evening was for the last 3 weeks, I have been working with people, 6 people, and we have re-edited and redeveloped some of the ideas. We've gone through and kind of smoothed out the rough edges in the book. And for the first time ever, I feel as though I have a product that I can be extremely proud of. and it changed the way I felt about things. So then I decided, okay, in order to do this, I have to change the book cover. The first book cover was a white guy sitting on a wire because I didn't want people to think that I was so full of myself that the book had to be about me. And then I showed that to people and they said, why aren't you on the cover of the book? And I said, I don't want to be on the cover of the book. And they said, Carl, we know you. You want to be on the cover of the book. So I had an artist draw a picture of me and I put myself on the cover of the second edition of the book. And it felt okay, but it just didn't feel right. This week, I had an artist draw the last version. And I'm sitting here, I know you can't see it, but I have on no shoes, I'm in shorts, I have on an aloha shirt, and the book says the Aloha Edition.
I saw that.
Yeah. And I got it. All this time of imperfect action pulled me to a place where the action came just perfect at the right time. Why did I say all of this evening? I know that there's many of you who want to give a speech, or want to write a book, or want to start a new business, or have a business plan that you think is awesome. And this is what I have to tell you. Don't wait for it to be perfect, because there are going to be bang-ups and hang-ups no matter how you look at it. But if you sit on it, that no action does not trump imperfect action. Trump is one of my favorite words these days. I had to get that in there. Trump was the word that I had to get in there. But move, start, believe in what you're doing. If it's vaccines, or being a chiropractor, or going to Australia to teach yoga, or coming from Michigan just because you feel like it, whatever it is that you want to do with your life, stand up and start now. Because like someone said to me many years ago when I was in my 20s and I didn't understand, life is short. It happens in a blink. And I'm not going to let it pass me by. So I already started, and I encourage you to start today.
Awesome. Yay.